let's do this. We've talked about patents and we've kind of described it in some detail, so people should understand what a patent actually is, at least in broad strokes. But again, who's going to know what a trade secret is? And JD just mentioned common law, and for the longest time, trade secrets were protected by common law, and that's still true. And when we say common law, we mean what's happening in the state. I'm in Washington. It might be different in California or Idaho. So, common law, case built law, that kind of thing. And that was the case for trade secrets for a long time. There is now federal law for that. We may get into that in a minute. But what the hell is a trade secret in the first place?
Beautiful. Yes. Definitions.
Let's start with definitions, right? A trade secret, you shouldn't be too surprised. There are some really specific definitions. And now we're talking about legal hurdles to get over. Do I have a trade secret or not? We don't have the time to really unpack all of that. But I think if I was going to boil it down to like 3 bullet points for what a trade secret is, it is information. Long pause, because it is essentially any kind of information. So you can see how all of a sudden this bubble includes patents, because patents are information. So think of anything that's information that is not commonly known, right? So 1, it's not commonly known. 2, it has value, economic value, potential or actual economic value. You don't have to have made any money off of it, but it has the potential for it. And then 3, reasonable steps have been taken to secure it. And when you combine, it's not generally known, and I've taken reasonable steps to secure it, that's the word secret, right? And in the middle, it has some value, that's the word trade. Those are the 3 things, and that's a trade secret right there. I think that'll be enough for us to have the rest of the discussion.
Yes.
But we could go
this is great
for a long time about how we legally define what a trade secret is. But if you remember those things, you're good.
Yes. So we have, I like, maybe we should talk about this. When someone has a creation, an innovation, individual or they're part of a company, a key question is, should I seek patent protection or trade secret protection? What's best for me now? And that is a perfect question. And there's an analysis that I like as part of that, which is the reverse engineerability, it's a mouthful, reverse engineerability test. So I'd like to start there, whether you kind of go down this path of, well, let's look for patenting, or maybe we can keep it as a trade secret. But okay, let's focus back on reverse engineerability and the policy for patenting in the first place, which is to not have secret societies, to have a sharing of knowledge, okay? The patent system, this is why they're kind of butting heads. The patent system wants everyone's ideas and innovations to be shared with everyone else. Okay, that is the #1 policy reason. We're willing to give you 20 years of the government. The US says, we're gonna give you 20 years to exclude anyone else from making, using, or selling this invention. And thank you very much for telling us all how to do it. That's what the patent system is. Trade secrets kind of works against that. And then you're sort of hedging your bets. You're sort of saying, I'm going to hold back. I'm not going to share my knowledge, this information that I know is valuable, because I think I can make some financial gain before I publish it or before it's detected, either internally or as part of a process. And so you're kind of, that's sort of an anti-patent tactic. It is a not so friendly sharing tactic, right? It's a competitive tactic. So back to the reverse engineerability test, the widget that you're making, let's assume that you had some trade secret knowledge or process or materials in making that widget. As you sell that widget, if it goes to the customer, if the customer is just as smart as you are and they're an engineer themselves, would they be able to take apart that widget and find out how you made it, find out what materials and your quote trade secret process in so doing? If they could figure it out, you ought to look at patents, right? Look to protect with a patent, because someone a competitor will reverse engineer it and make it on their own. If you've not sought patent protection, you'll face competition soon, right? And so, but if not, okay, maybe if there's no way, you're certain there's no way they could do it. At Boeing, I used to talk about, there's some trade secret processes for making their composite airplane wing, for example, and heating temperatures, how long it's heated, the rotation of the fibers, right, to get the right structural, right, integrity, the right static or dynamic loads. I don't think they sought patents on all of those things. They probably kept some of that information as trade secret because they're like, no way is anyone going to be able to know how long this thing was in the heater for, or how we cured this, because the adhesive disappears or whatever it is. There are certain ways and processes that you might believe to be not reverse engineerable, and you should keep those as trade secrets. So the question is, what risks do you take by keeping it as a trade secret? Number one risk, I would say, is someone else, independent from you, invents the same or very similar thing and files a patent on it, publishes it, and now I think a good case can be made that no longer is your trade secret not commonly known.
It gets worse.
It gets worse.
It gets worse because
you're infringing
now,
right?
You're infringing, and you've been doing it for 50 years.
Right.
Even if they didn't reverse engineer it, they just came up with a thing, and it's almost spot on to what you're producing, but you didn't have a patent. You start to run into trouble there too, right? But I think you're absolutely right. The base question, the threshold question is, when I make this thing, this widget, once I start selling the widget, the idea is that I'm making money off of selling the widget, because there's other ways to make money off my own widget. I'm making money off of selling the widget. When that widget gets in somebody's hands, can they go, oh, I see what this is, and then go gin up their own? You're probably looking at patent, because, like JD is saying, the carrot for a patent is a government-backed, sponsored monopoly for decades.
Yep.
And in order to promote these arts, copyright and patents come from the U.S. Constitution in this country. They come from the U.S. Constitution. Trademark's not true, but those two, to promote the useful arts, go read the Constitution. It's a sleeper, but it's good to know. So these are constitutional rights, essentially, that we have. They come from the Constitution to promote that. It really is, for now you get to sell it. At some point, other people can sell it, which is why drugs all have two names. Because at some point, somebody's going to make Advil, and if we don't call it something else as a generic, they're just going to call it Advil, and now we've lost our trademark too.
One really cool thing the trade secrets has going for it, that patent certainly doesn't have, is there's no, of your three lists, let's go back to your three, novelty is not on here.
No.
Uniqueness is not on here. And it's actually in the name. It's funny, you practice this area of the law, and you realize it's right in the name. Trade secrets. Known in the trade. How fascinating is that? So in fact, this came up, and yeah, I can share this. So in plumbing, okay, plumbing is a trade. There's certain order to how the pipes connect, and plumbers just know that. Trade, people in the trade, you just do it. It's kind of like you've been doing it for years. You just know to put a 45, then a 9, then an exchanger, right, whatever, the coupling. That order is just how you do it. That could very well be a trade secret, even though hundreds of other plumbers perform that same exact process. So long, because it's not everyone knows it. I mean, maybe all plumbers do.
You could have trade knowledge, which might be general enough knowledge, but you talk about all the couplers and all the plumbers do it and blah blah blah. But you've got Hoovener plumbing and Boslin plumbing. Right. We end up producing the same thing, but JD does it in a third of the time. But I have no idea how. How does JD do that it takes me 3 times as long to do the same thing that everybody knows. Well, he's not going to tell me. That is definitely a trade secret. There is economic value to me not telling, or JD not telling me how he does it in a third of the time, even when we end up with the exact same product at the end, right? So nobody really knows what pants size I'm wearing, and I'm not going to stand up and help you, but that is a secret, and I don't tell anybody. But there's no economic value to it at all. So one of the 3 legs of the stool falls off, and it's not a trade secret anymore because I can't monetize the information about what size my pants are. So, I think that's kind of where you're going, JD, is that it is in the trade, but there has to be economic value associated with it. And that economic value, to me, must be because it's a secret. If everybody knew it, the value is gone, right? So if it's just the sequence of couplers and reducers and expanders for your Venturi effect or blah, 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 whatever it is, right? We've been doing it the same way forever. We're just not using lead anymore. Then, but you find a way to do the same thing cheaper, faster, something else, and you don't want to tell anybody. Now it's a secret with economic value. But again, it's not a trade secret if I don't take the right steps, reasonable steps to keep it a secret. That's part of the definition, is I have to take those reasonable steps to keep it a trade secret. I can't just go, I know how to do it, but I have papers of how to do it scattered all over the place, and I invite people into the office and blah, blah, blah. And I'm simply not taking reasonable steps to keep it a secret. A secret isn't a secret if you don't keep it a secret. So that's one of the third piece.
I get my plumbing done a third of the time as Boswin does. How do I keep it secret? What do I do if I was, let's say one of my top plumbers goes and starts a competitive company and misappropriates, starts his new company using our company's trade secret, and he was not allowed to. Can't stop him from competing, let's say, like we're in most states like California, there's no non-compete clause, but I can perhaps go after him for misappropriation, for taking our trade secret. This company's known for doing the double twist, double-sided tape, whoop-de-doo trade secret form method for getting these couplers and pipes together quickly. How do I show to a court that I meet element 3, that I was keeping the secret?
So again, the basis of it is reasonable steps under the circumstances. So that then becomes sort of a question about, well, what's a reasonable step? And when you because you bring up another good point, which is the primary way that this stuff was protected historically was in non-compete agreements and employment contracts and that type of thing. If you think of the employee as the carrier and the secret as the disease, if the employee can't go to another place, your secret can't make it to a competitor. That's how I've stopped it. Just recently this year, that the Federal Trade Commission said, no non-competes, all 50 states.
Okay.
Done,
right?
And then they were immediately sued. So I'm sure we don't have that resolved yet, but the point there is that non-competes are softening. California, they're gone. You can't wait until they resolve the 50 states FTC question on this to decide how you're going to take care of your trade secrets. Best start now. Figure out what they are and figure out what reasonable steps would be to keep them a secret. We talked a little earlier about prototyping.
Yep.
I have a great idea. I don't know how to make that pipe that does this. I don't know I don't blow glass or whatever the process is, but I need one to show investors or to see if it's any marketability, a whole bunch of reasons. So I've got to work with them, and I've got a trade secret because I figured out a process that I want to step through with the people who have the machines and the other expertise to run them and all of that. So now I need to work with them on like a non-compete agreement, some kind of contract. This might be one example of, I did share the secret. So it's not a secret anymore, right? That's not true. It's still not generally known. It still has economic value. And I've taken reasonable steps to secure it through contract use and things like that. I had to have somebody else do it to get a prototype.
Yeah.
the way I protected my secret was reasonable under the circumstances. Now, if they run off and make it and start selling it, they've got real trouble, right?
Yeah.
So there's one other thing that I was thinking about before we started, and we're talking patents versus trade secrets, but there's really patents and trade secrets as well. So here's a concept, and I'm going to come up with a scenario that might help maybe explain how they maybe work together, right? So let's say I'm an oral surgeon, as an example, just to pick something up, because dentist, oral surgeon, these folks actually do a fair bit of inventing and create a tool that's got a little bit different hook on it or whatever. You've got an oral surgeon. She's great. She's really good at it. She has all these patients that have a particular problem, and she wants to get to a particular result with the patient. She's got that figured out in her head, but can't really do it without, just the right tool. So she needs this correct tool. Now, as soon as she makes one with this bent end on it, maybe she never shows anybody and just keeps it to herself, but she might also be able to monetize that thing by selling it. Now we're talking about a patent, probably, right? Because that's what I want to do, is I want to make them, but I'm also going to use it. I'm going to use it on patients with a particular problem to create a particular result, a particular outcome. And I have a process for that. I use this tool, but there's a process for it. If you don't use the tool in the right way, you're not going to get the same outcome. So that process, I can hang on to that as a trade secret as an oral surgeon who just created a product that I'm going to protect with a patent, and I still have a trade secret process that I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm going to keep that forever, right? As long, but somebody could figure it out. It's like, oh, if you do it just like this, you do get the result.
Yes.
All right. That's sort of the risk there. But once you've gone through that enough, and it's like from point A to point X are all of these steps, and it's going to be wicked tough for anybody to figure it out because it's not clear. I see the tool, I know what the problem was, and I can see the outcome, but I might not be able to reproduce that without knowing what that trade secret was. So there's all kinds of things that can support patents, and they can be in the same space. So it's not always an either or kind of question.
I love it.